If the leadership team has the right mindset and supports women's career, it comes in many ways. It doesn't just come from flexible work arrangement. It comes from also even having that flexibility of language and narratives, even in meetings or discussions.
I was in UK. I was mentoring. We have a conversation with my two daughters, and exactly I find they overthinking and they pay more attention to detail. Like my daughter, she's under the graduate program, the management graduate program, where they are allowed to rotate and part of the young leaders. And so she's asking me whether should we rotate or not rotate. So this type of questions that come
Men
out.
don't ask.
Men don't ask. Men say, oh, part of the program I rotate, right?
So, men will say, bro, just take it.
Yeah, correct. But there's overthinking. So, and mentoring helps them to make the decision.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the GRADUAN Go podcast. Today we have a special one focused on International Women's Day, and I have two special guests with me to celebrate women together. First, I'd like to introduce you to Ms. Nadiah Tan who is the Chief Human Capital Officer of MAHB, Malaysia Airports, and also we have Mr. Chee Gay, who is the Managing Director of the Access Group.
Hi.
So I think before we start, I'll get you both to introduce yourselves in more detail. So Nadiah, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Nada. Thank you first of all for inviting me, and it's always nice to have this conversation with you. And I've been with GRADUAN, not that I work with GRADUAN, but I've been following GRADUAN since the inception, and so this is always a pleasure to have this chat. So I've been in HR, even though I was an accidental HR person, I would say, for the last, 32 years. It sounds so old, right? But it's been a really fantastic ride. I've gone across industries. First 15 years in manufacturing, gone through telco, gone through big data and all sorts. Done all kinds of different roles in HR, local, regional, global. But I think that makes it exciting, because I always find that as someone who graduated in international relations, I somehow look at things more macro, because when you do politics or political science, your perspective has to be macro.
Correct.
And that adds on colours to what I do. Sometimes I think I'm this crazy HR person who does things that is out of whack and not completely traditional. But of course, I've got Chee Gay here, who's also like that, and I know he's also not from HR degree. I always say, who does HR degree anyway? But that's basically that. And maybe on the personal side, I've got two boys who are working in London at the moment, and since it's close to IWDs, and I always say this, I've always prepared girls' names whenever I'm pregnant, but I never was gifted with girls. But I think there's a higher calling, because I think then maybe God wants me to have more influence to the other women and ladies and young girls, right? And I always tell my boys, they have to be a fine gentleman and respect women, whether they're young ladies or women. And so I think, even though I don't have girls, I think I have an important role to make sure that I have raised two fine gentlemen.
Agreed.
Wow,
and speaking of fine gentlemen, let me
opposite side.
So Chee Gay, tell us a little bit about what you do and about yourself.
Okay, interesting. Almost the same thing like our Nadiah, but right now I'm the Managing Director of the SS Group. Been in the role for 2 months right now.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Just being back from UK, SS is actually based in UK.
Yeah.
So we have around 9,000 employees, and we actually a software company.
Okay.
And we have 250 applications, just for information.
Oh wow.
Yeah, across 22 software companies.
Yeah.
And basically our focus on the tech sectors, industry sectors that we are supporting.
Interesting.
We started the career 30 years ago with Intel. That's where I started to know about DEI and female representing and driving a lot of international Women Day empowerment and so on.
Yeah.
So that's why I started in 1998. That's why I fortunate enough to get a lot of education in my Intel years.
Yeah.
And then I moved to manufacturing, and then later on, and in the HR, and been driving a lot of women empowerment, women career progression.
Yeah.
And that's also because I have two daughters.
Opposite
Opposite side,
ends,
yeah. I have two daughters, and maybe I know the needs of the ladies.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I have very passionate to make sure there is a gender equality.
Yeah.
And respecting women is what I learned a lot from my wife and from my daughters over the years. And being the role model that over the years. And because I'm multinational, it has always been quite easy for me to drive the agenda, because it's always in the agenda.
Correct.
And that's the whole reason I have that value.
Yeah.
And I always join the company who align to my value, which is gender equality, human rights,
Yeah,
the purpose
all of
of driving.
Actually, can I just add
Yeah,
in?
of course.
So interesting when Chee Gay says he's got about 9,000 plus. So we're very similar in the sense that we've got 9,000 plus employees for Malaysia Airports across 39 airports, including one in Istanbul. But many people probably don't know that they probably think that we have a lot more, we're a lot men in our business, but we do actually have quite an equal, I would say about 46% or so female, because you would have seen the aviation securities as you walk through the airports in the screening, and also we have many of them in the sales sites, which is the duty free.
Yes.
We have the hotel side. Sama-sama is part of the Malaysia Airports group as well, and in fact we have many of them in the technical skills as well, engineering and so on. Like people don't see them; they're at the back end, like handling your baggages and so on. But we have quite a number of, I would say, very strong, competent women in the technical field, which means a lot, because in an industry like this, you really want to see equal representation. Because our community, and we call it the airport community, includes the ground services, the airlines, and airlines are now having many more female pilots, right?
Yeah.
And immigration and custom, but they're all not under our payroll, but everything else that
it's part
sits
of the
in
ecosystem.
under the roof of the airport. People might think it belongs to us, but it's a community, so we refer to that as our airport community. So it's interesting to see how women really plays a lot of important role.
I just want to add on, right? So as what Nadiah mentioned, I actually came from IT background.
Correct.
So, and it has always been a male dominant
industry
over the years. But I think over the 30 years, I realized it changed.
There's been a shift, right?
Yeah, the reason is because when I joined SS, and of course in the 2 months, because it's so close with me in HR, so one of the things is to know about the demographic and also the HR indicator. And one of the things I found out that in SS Group, although we have a lot of software engineers and technical support team and developers, 51% of our workforce, which we have around nearly 500 over. So we have around 200 over female IT.
It's always nice to hear about women succeeding or excelling in a male-dominated, or what used to be a male-dominated industry.
So it's give me an eye opener. There's a lot of female interested in IT. So it's no longer a so-called what I call a male-dominant industry anymore.
Correct. So Nadiah, I'm going to ask you a question. Could you share a time when you had to push for change, or has there been a challenge for gender bias in throughout your 30 years?
Well, I mean, I would say there are not many, but there were some, and maybe if I can refer to probably during my manufacturing days, because I would say it's more cultural, because in our culture, it's quite common in Asian culture, right? The man is being positioned differently, and in the manufacturing sector, when you go down lower the level, they may not be as aware or as, how would I say, as open, and so I have not gone through difficult moments, but it was more of trying to push the agenda that women should be treated equally. In this side of the world, sometimes they don't realize they give sexist jokes. It was more of that kind of thing rather than abusing of women. So because I think in our culture sometimes it's quite common, they make jokes and it's okay, but it's not okay, right? And so as you evolve as a society, I mean, people like you, Nada, I mean, I knew Nada when she was little, right?
Yeah,
And she's
I
like
know.
now.
When
I saw her
with
here,
the mother, right?
she was
Yeah.
very little, but generation women like you has grown up to have parents like your mom, Puan Ilya, and parents like us who have different awareness, and so I think society has evolved, but back then, I think it was not seen as an issue. But when I look at it now, I mean, when I was there, it wasn't such a big issue because you kind of accepted it as a norm. Nobody talks about DEI. There was not much of an IWD kind of a celebration, right? But now that you ask me that question, there were moments like that, and there were moments as well, for example, in discussions where there are some dominant men who will be, dominating, make comments and insinuating that as a woman, your views are very different. We shouldn't have that. We are all the same. I think what's different is maybe our competency, our experiences, and the level of education that we have. But we're all the same. But we have come to that level of maturity, I would say, in Malaysia today.
And respect.
And respect, yes. So it's the onus is upon us, parents like us, who actually grew children to remind the next generation. And I think in the next generation they're quite equal. So I mean, I sometimes ask my boys when they go out with their girlfriends, so who pays? And they're like, sometimes we go Dutch. I remember during my time, it was kind of an expectation that the boyfriend pays for your date, right? So I don't know your girls.
I always pay. Always pay that. So
I think
so
when
don't ask
you
me.
I think that's a very nice touch to put. It's true though. I think at that time you just come to accept it. It's okay, he didn't mean it, or it's just a passing comment.
Plus, there was no such thing as sexual harassment bill or sexual harassment act, whatever. But these days, the employment law provides for that. So it's a different world.
Is another one that a lot of people overlook as well in Malaysia. People always thought it's only physical, but it's more than that.
It's all round.
Respect, I think the key word.
That's why I think the key word is that. So Chee Gay, I wanted to ask, how can men be stronger allies in this whole movement, and what role should they play in driving this change? I mean, for you drive change at home and also at work, right? I'm sure as you bring up your daughters, there are certain things that you talk to them about.
Exactly.
And things so maybe you can elaborate.
That's why I just called it out. I think the key word that I learned over the years is called respect. And even over the years, just connect to what Nadiah mentioned in terms of policy changes. There's a lot of situation where even the policy of recruitment that require the talent acquisition or the HR to ask whether the female is pregnant or not. That is, to me, is a surprise to me. In other words, and I know that sometimes it's quite a norm in certain organizations, they do that because of productivity and so on. But to me, we shouldn't have it as a policy, and for us, we shouldn't have it as a question in an interview, and we should not. We allow people. I allow our organization to hire what we call pregnant employee, and that speaks itself in terms of policy change. That's one of the policy change that I call it, and the whole idea is because it's pretty much respect. And the other one that I always find, I just been in the 2 months in SS group, and we have a Thrive program, and one of them is a DI, and I took a lot of interest in that because also March is the International Women's Day. Of course, other than knowing the demographic, I'm also looking into what are the things that I can support our female workforce much better. And of course, one of the things that I'm looking at is the career progression and the policy. And I think at the end, from my side, and the different opposite agenda is pretty much support and understanding the needs of our female workforce. And I noticed that the key one, if you ask me, one of the things that I would change in the policy is work arrangement.
I think that's the
key thing. And that's also the reason why we have 51 41% of our employees are female.
Yeah.
I thought that I'm making a joke with my LSRT. I thought that is it because we have a maternity leave of 6.5 months.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I thought that is a reason of people joining. But in actual fact, when I asked the female leaders, they told me is the hybrid work
the
arrangement.
Yeah.
That makes them choose us. So in the end, I think hybrid is not because supporting the women workforce, especially those who have family. Not only those who have family, they also have parents.
Yeah.
And especially in a context of Malaysia, female tends to be more care,
Nurturing,
and close to the family, and they play a more role
Bigger
in that
role.
area, apart from just what we call professional, what we call workforce.
Yeah.
So I think understanding and for opposite gender to understand the female workforce needs, and I can tell you one of them is the work arrangement, and that helps a lot.
Yeah.
And people love it because they want to contribute to the organization. At the same time, they have the responsibility
Correct.
that they need to play, and I think that also help to retain the talent in the organization.
Yeah.
So I just want to call out the importance of respect, and also the flexibility that we should give to the women workforce.
Yeah.
Although I asked a question. I went to the nursery room.
Yeah.
It's very nice. I say, is any equipment okay? They say, oh, okay. So they are actually not looking into all the facility because it's needs.
Yeah.
But the more important thing is the facility to be able to work from home.
Yeah.
That allow them to be able to maneuver much
the roles
better
that they play in life, right?
Their well-being of themselves, their families, and also the role that they play as a mother, the daughter of their parents or parents-in-law. So those are the things that I just want to call out.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
What about you, Nadiah? Are there any policies or initiatives you feel that have helped you in your journey, or now as you engage with so many women?
I would say the same thing. The first thing, the flexible work arrangement worked really well because especially so when you if your office is so far away and the traffic jam is crazy.
Yes.
And I rather have my employees spend productive hours than in the car.
Yeah.
And they get very tired
Frustrated.
and so on, frustrated, and when they're happy, they become better employees as well. But I guess the other thing is also the fact that I always feel that leadership plays an important role, and so whether it's the men or women, because you'd be surprised that sometimes there are women who don't support women because they'll say things like, during our time we didn't have all that, and I'm like, oh no, I mean, of course, during my time, I used to have this job in Danone. I remember I have my first boy was 3-4 years, and my second one, and I was still nursing, and this was early the 2000s, right? There was no nursing room. And I had to travel. I used to do a daily trip to Penang or to JB to visit the factory.
Yeah.
And I literally had to do it in the toilet and throw it away because I just didn't feel it's clean enough. But I'm committed to my job, so it's a balancing thing, right? So I could only do it up to 9 months simply because I didn't have those facilities and also all other things, right?
Yes.
But those were you're talking about 20 years ago, right? I think people have moved on. Now, along the movement and along the evolution, I think what's important is the mindset of the leadership.
Yeah.
So I feel that if the leadership team has the right mindset and supports women's career, it comes in many ways. It doesn't just come from flexible work arrangement. It comes from also even having that flexibility of language and narratives, even in meetings or discussions. So I'll give you an example. So let's say if someone who is going through a very difficult pregnancy, and some of us are not lucky. I mean, I always say that I'm the unlucky ones who have to work till the last day because I'm super healthy when I was pregnant. So I'm designed to work, to be a work machine, right?
Yes.
But I know there are some women who go through really tough time and challenging time, vomiting all day. And there are women who say, manja lah, this and that,
Yeah.
And it doesn't help when you hear things like that, right?
Yeah.
So that's one. Number two is also being able to really have the empathy to empathize, because some people just go through difficult phases in their life. They might be a performer, so we all do talent reviews, and we have this kind of discussions. I mean, oh, but she was okay last year, but I don't know what happened this year. And it completely knocked her down. But really understanding the context, because she could be going through I don't know, a parent who's dying, or going through a marriage issue or whatever. If we don't understand that and we completely knock that down, the environment is not very encouraging. So that's why for me, I think that's so important, besides all the other things, infrastructure and all that. It's the mindset. And once you have the right mindset in leadership, it creates a completely different environment. And it role models down to everyone the next level, because they see that's the language that we're talking about, and that's where the respect has to be given. So I always find that when you have an MD or a CEO who has that mindset, that's so important, because it follows through, especially so in Asian culture, right? So they'll look at the boss, okay, fine, unfortunately it happens sometimes, but it's one quick way of making sure that you have the right culture to embed the what do you call this, the support that you give to women. And every woman have different faces. Sometimes people fail to see that I remember I missed almost one promotion, because that year I had my baby, and my dad just retired, and my parents were just getting used to living with each other the whole time, and there was just so much issues and all that. But there's just so many things happening, and I was peaking. I was like in my 30s, trying to also discover myself, and it's just too many things happening, and I was still struggling. But when I look back, and I was so when I say I missed one promotion, because I was also making some mistakes as I stumbled through my job, because I was managing too many things. I was the eldest in the family. But when I look through that has to happen for me to grow and learn. And what's important is to have the right mentor, the right support system to help you. So that's the other thing, leadership. You've got all the infrastructure, and to build that support system in the organization, so that women, and for that matter even men, can have the right support system to help them grow in their career. And a lot of people say, there's a separate thing between career and home. I don't think so. I don't think so. You can take out your head and put another helmet, right? Because it's inseparable. But how you feel at home or how you feel at work, it does affect the other
both sides.
The both worlds.
I think, like you said, the leadership will then make the individual feel safe to share whatever issues they have, and then
not feel judged.
And then you are able to come up or customize initiatives or policies that will help them.
But also, at the same time, I must say this: we just finished our town hall yesterday, and we talked about flexibility.
I had it today, before I came over here.
And of course, I always say this. Was it Spider-Man? It says, great power comes responsibility. So whilst we do this, we must admit there will be a small portion of the workforce that will abuse it. So we need to confront that. The problem is when we don't confront that, and then suddenly something happens, and because of that one person, we cancel off
blanket
the
whole thing.
So I think it needs to have that courage and boldness in management to also take on the dark side when it has to be, and handle that.
I think those are really good points. And you mentioned about mentors. Did you or Chee Gay both had a mentor as you were growing, through your careers?
Okay, so you're talking about the mentor regarding this topic, or mentor as a life mentor and so on?
I think life mentor.
I do believe in a life mentor. Even myself, even until now, I still mentor my daughters. In life and also in the work right now. But the reason is because I benefit a lot from mentoring, because over the years, and I don't only have one mentor, I do have mentor in specific topics.
So because different people are
they are strength in certain things, and certain time I just see that I need to know something much better. Especially recently, before I moved to the managing director, is also a crisis for me to say what I do next. Nadiah will ask me as a group of CHO, what do I do next? So I also ask myself. So that by itself, and at the same time in the HR community, there are a number of people are retiring. So I was wondering, should I retire? So I also have a mentor with some of the HR community about what do we do next.
Yeah, sometimes Chee Gay calls me up and we were supposed to have that coffee and we never had.
Because you're so busy.
No, she makes
she just go around. So exactly. So and I find that it's one of the things that I learned. So mentor helps me, and one thing that I learned, don't wait until you're going to retire, only you know you're going to think about what you do next. So now I already started to even think and get benefit from those who just retire. What they go through and what's the next step and what they've been thinking. It helps me to join them, and it helps me to reflect. If I do it earlier, then it's much easier for me when I retire.
Correct.
So mentor helps
help
a lot, and that's why, like what Nadiah mentioned, community of support is very, very important. And having mentor doesn't mean that you're short or something. It actually helps you in enriching yourself and in enriching you not to overthinking. Because sometimes if you don't have mentor, you start to overthinking. But you have mentor, you can really guide you to be very specific in coming up with a certain solution or certain decision. And at the end of the day, mentoring, if you ask me, help decision making. And making more right decision than wrong decision. That's why I say that's
There can never
the beauty
be the perfect
of there's not going to be perfect, but mentoring help. What I see help me to make more right decision than wrong decision.
What I noticed, something that Chee Gay mentioned, right, that he said he wanted to call Nadiah just to get your advice and everything. Well, it's really nice because there's some men that don't want to take advice from.
Because every time when I move job, she will move, then I move. So I was wondering, she's moved. So there is a sign
that she had here to go back.
but consider after a year I move. So it
Not
helps. Maybe
so there's a pattern, is it?
Yeah, there's a pattern.
So who started it?
Every time he sees me, he's like, so what's next? I said, like, I'd agree with Chee Gay. I think mentor is very important, and I like him. Even at my age, close to retirement, I still have a number of mentor for different reasons, because I think you need different mentor for personal, even for career. I have different mentor who I could sort of like latch on for different ideas, because they all have different strengths, different experiences and so on. But I think the more important thing is that you need to feel comfortable with the mentor, because sometimes he or she will knock the head and tell you something that you probably can't accept or didn't even think, can't accept or didn't even think about it. But because you are close enough and you know that the person is coming from a space of caring, so you won't feel like the person is judging you. I just want to call out Datuk Yasmin, since you asked about someone who and she's been a great mentor, either from a personal side, also from a women empowerment. So she was my boss when I became HR director for Microsoft. That was my first HR director role, actually. I remember I was 38 years old, and it was quite scary because, haven't been out to be number one and to do that, and with Microsoft, because Microsoft can be quite scary.
It's a global
and I said to myself, I remember saying this, I said to myself, I was 38, I'll do this, and if I don't like it, I'll come back and do my mainstream passion, which is talent development, by 40. So it's not too late, right? But I mean, now I've gone to this, my 5th round of being HR director, and I must say it's been a nice ride. Not always happy and this one, but we all learn through the experiences, the mistakes that we do. The reason I call her out is because I think she's one lady who really taught me a few things. So number one, resilience, and she's one strong personality who really, and I've seen her fighting for the employees, because when I was in Microsoft, we had regional meetings and so on, even at regional meetings. So I think that's so important, and being able to stand there among men as well, and
stand your ground.
Number two, she's one person who really makes you think about who supports you in your group, because she actually said in one of the meetings that she was going, I think it was Microsoft, and they said that you can bring your spouse, and she says, can I bring my mom instead of my spouse, because her mom has been quite a big influence on her. And I mean, of course I know her mom as well. I mean, we became quite close aunties, and so that's so important, because sometimes people fail to see that there are people around us who made us who we are.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't forget and
Correct.
to be able to be bold and say and go beyond the compliance of whatever guideline. The third one I thought was about sponsorship, and she's always talking about how you need to also sponsor other women, and so that I learned from her when I was working with her. I was very young, and I remember that because I think if a woman can sponsor another woman, meaning not just mentoring but actually put forward the name or encourage or recommend, that helps a lot in that person's career. The last thing, I still remember her saying this because I used to be super stance, because I'm like, I don't like to be a loser, so I work really hard and I always want to be the best and so on. So sometimes I can be quite tense. And so when I remember Datuk Nora talking about her story, and I thought, that sounds familiar. If you all remember, she always talk about her story. I said, that sounds so familiar. I think all of us, who wants to achieve a lot, started that way.
Correct.
And she used to pass my room. I mean, they have a code name for me. It was my extension. I can't remember. It's 6207 or something like that. Because she's like, hey, chill out, you're too serious and so on. Because I think when I got there, I was 38 and I just had my second child was maybe 4 years old. Things were just happening.
Yes.
And you're picking, so you're like picking and everything else you're trying to sort out. So you get really tensed up and trying to sort out the house, the kids and the maids and everything else. And she tells me this thing, compartmentalized. And I think it was good. So I used to bring my kids to the swimming pool, and at the same time I bring my laptop and I'll be sitting and doing. So thinking that I'm spending time, but actually I am not, right? Or I go shopping and bring the stroller and get them into the fitting room together with me, and it's just not happening because we feel guilty. I don't know whether men feel that way, but women feel guilty. So we bring them everywhere thinking we're doing that. Okay exactly, check the box lah, But actually it wasn't so well. So when she said, no, you cannot be the best mom all the time, you cannot be the best corporate person. So you have to be the best whatever role you are. If you're in the office, you're the best corporate man. At home you're. So I learned to compartmentalize. So then when I want to do my own shopping, so I'm not so hurried like kelang kabut, right? So then I just go alone and do that 1 hour. But when I go out with my boys, then it's their toys or whatever, it's just them. No more like that. And I don't go to the swimming pool with my laptop anymore. So I kind of like plan my program in a day. And so you find that you have more focus time, more quality time. So these days, like Chee Gay, I'm sure you understand that we don't have enough time to be with the family, and we're trying to manage although he thinks I go on holidays all the time, I don't.
He optimizes her time. The beauty part is her energy level. When the change is always up, never even holidays, people relax, right? He still optimize his schedule, just like her
5 o'clock
working
she's
schedule.
on call.
So I'm the strength finder, I'm a maximizer. Okay, so I'll maximize everything. So but what I'll do is I said I've learned that it's the quality than quantity. So I've accepted the fact that I won't have quantity, because my kids will say, Mommy, why are we the last one to be picked up from babysitter? Bedak all, and then be the last one 8 o'clock I come. Or they'll say like, well, Mommy, why can't you come to our school sports when I had to miss it, right? And it's killing you, right? But what I do is compensate with, at least twice a year you must have a good family holiday.
Correct.
And so and I do this, I must share this, and it's so important. So as a family, we said when my kids grow at a certain age, teenage, we do this solo trip with Mommy and Daddy, bonding trip. So like, I did Jakarta with Daniel, my second, when I did, I think, Melbourne with Adam when they were like 14, 15 years old. Just me and him. And then they did with Daddy, I think, in Nepal or somewhere else. And I thought that was a really good concept, because when you see us together as a family, different dynamics.
Correct.
So the same concept, if you do it with your corporate teams, right? And I do that with the team sometimes when I have speaking engagement that I get invited, and I'll just throw in and say, okay, who wants to follow me to Nepal? Like Afiq always, he's a FOMO, right? He wants to do everything. So he comes along, and of course he doesn't know that I was going to say, okay, for your birthday present, I'll pay for your accommodation, for example. But I didn't tell him.
Yeah.
And the fact that he pays his own flight ticket and so on. So the same concept, like I said, I do it with the corporate world. It's how much do you want that will bring you that opportunity.
Correct.
So for women, whilst we talk about women empowerment and all this, I also like to think that women shouldn't feel that they should be given the discount, and men shouldn't feel that way as well. Because sometimes the men will come and tell me, because of my posting, I haven't been writing for a while, I've been so busy. Nadiah, you're talking about all this women empowerment, blah 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 blah, and the man has to. So sometimes I think we overdo it, and so we don't want to do that, because we women who are at where we are is because of merit, and we should be treated, if we want to be treated the same as men, we shouldn't be expecting a discount. So that's important.
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to call out, I also think that mentoring, and when you translate to mentoring, is also like storytelling when you have in a big group. And that's always usually, I find it very useful, even when we celebrate International Women's Day, to always have that session for a female leader to share their journey and the storytelling on it. And that, to me, also a part of mentoring. Just give you an example. I just met one of the SS ladies leaders, and she has been in the company for 12 years. And when she joined SS, it was only 350 employees, and now we have 9,000. And she had moved a different job, and now she's an engineering director. So I thought it's a very fantastic idea and sharing, because sometimes I find female employees, sometimes they think a lot, and before they move to a new role or take out a challenge, and
men, they just take it
first. Exactly. That's my observation. Because recently I was in UK, I was mentoring, we have a conversation with my two daughters, and exactly I find they overthinking, and they pay more attention to detail. Like my daughter, she's under the graduate program, the management graduate program, where they are allowed to rotate as part of the young leaders. And so she's asking me whether should we rotate or not rotate. So this type of question that come
men
out.
Men don't ask.
Men don't ask. Men say, oh, part of the program I rotate, right?
So men will say, bro, just take it.
Yeah, correct. But there's overthinking. So, and mentoring helps them to make the decision. And that's what I think is super important. Yeah. So, and I think it's more meaningful that we can get the stories share among the women and the female workforce, so that they can embrace it, right? Like a working mother is, I'm sure that everyone go through a different challenges, but learning from others helps them to plan better, right? So that's why I always think.
I love stories whenever Nadiah shares, because it helps me appreciate the now. You know what I mean?
Please do. You don't want to regret and say, I mean, if I have to turn my life again, I'll do things quite differently. But I also want to add, not just women, because I think sometimes when we talk about women, we always bring women's stories, and actually we're preaching to the converted, right? So that one angle is great, but we need to also talk about it, bring in stories from men. So I'm just letting the cat out of the bag a little bit, like for Malaysia Airports, for the coming IWT, we're going to get some of our airport managers who are men, who have sacrificed their family life, because some of them are still travelling weekend commuting. So it's a sacrifice for both. The family, the wife, and the man. So I was in Kota Baru recently. Haji Suhaimi he says, Nadiah, I've been travelling for the last 27 years, because he's based in Kota Baru. He's airport manager Kota Baru. His family is in Malacca. So airport managers get rotated. So all the other locations, the family didn't move because of children's education, and she's a state, I think she works for the state and so on. So he travels every week. Can you imagine the amount of time, money, and all that? So as a company, I think if we don't go down and we don't know all these stories, as you said, you won't be able to support them. So in January, we've actually relooked at all our benefits, and we actually introduced airport managers allowances, and that really helps, because I think their job is 24/7. So those little things helps a lot, but also bringing in stories that men can share and helps other men who are not enlightened yet to be understanding and aware of this, and it helps the world to be much more fairer.
So one other thing is that I do mentors a lot to especially Gen Y and Gen Z, whether it's a female or male mentees. But I do learn part of reverse re-engineering, reverse mentoring from the female today. I noticed that a lot of today workforce, the young generation, maybe we can verify from others, they tend not to have children.
I see.
There's already a trend right now. So that also gave me a good learning. I now asked why they don't want and so on. Even the guys also said maybe they want to marry. There are some people don't want to get married, and they don't have children, so they are quite ambitious. So you see that as the workforce get more, as we progress, we will notice that the different needs and the different policy need to change for new generation. Even for female workforce, right? They are now become more ambitious. They know their rights. How do we continue to retain them? It's no longer the maternity leave alone, right? Or nursery room. It's no longer. That's why even I have 6.5. I'm thinking about, which I share. I'm thinking about how do we develop our female
for the future,
workforce,
right?
so that they can become leaders, right? That's more important today rather than having maternity leave, which might not be a need in the future because less and less people want to have children, whether you like it or not. And that is, but I always take a point. I always one time try to make sure that whoever smoke, I will influence them not to smoke, and now I also influence any youngsters to get married and to have children because
there's joy in getting married.
There's a joy in there, right? So, but that is what I see. So, by mentoring, we also allow us to know the needs.
Correct.
And as a leaders, we will be able to know what is more important for years to come. So just to share. So policy-wise, I even tell my team in terms of we have a Wise and Women Network to really focus on career progression because that will be something matters. Apart flexibility, I think career progression and women career development will become very, very important.
But it's interesting you said that it's also about choice, right? I mean, some people then decide that I don't want to get married for whatever reason. Maybe they have their own issues. They probably have to take care of their elderly and so on. And you mentioned about all these benefits. I think whilst we're talking about it, that one thing that's important is inclusivity, right? So I remember, we're now changing in Malaysia Airports, for example, we have compassionate leave. So then you have the additional leaves, right? And they say, okay, it's extended to your immediate family, and immediate family means you and your kids and all that. But I say, what about our employees who are not married? Right. Then that means they don't get the benefits. I said, look, you have to think more globally and more inclusively, and so it should be extended to also people who are not married, which means they can even use it for their parents, for example, because they made a choice to be single. I know. Well, I have 3 cats, but not because I'm not saying this because I have cats, but I know some companies that even moved on towards giving time compassionately for them to bring their pet to the vet, for example, because that is important to that person, for example. So, but that takes a maturity level to a company. But I think the world is changing so much that you said about trends, right? I mean, the benefits that were there before, maternity one day will not become the most important benefit.
Correct.
Recently, we changed this. We reviewed the benefit for our GMs and above. We are on contract, so in your contract you get a certain amount for membership, and it was only applicable for golf. And I said, so what happens for those who doesn't play golf? That doesn't make sense, right? And I'm like, then they're not getting the benefit. So we changed it. I said, no, if you want to give something, give it so that it cover. So now it includes fitness regime as well, because everyone else. And then comes the next question. This is typical HR, right? So you talk about fitness. Okay, then let's say you have a certain amount. How do you create a mechanism that they can claim the amount? Katalah it's like 20,000 or 15,000, whatever. For a golf membership, yes, fine. But if you go for fitness, you don't pay 15,000.
Correct.
So you have to think about a mechanism that actually allows and be relevant to how you're going to apply the benefit. So it takes a lot of thinking and moving along with time, right? Because many things that were important to us when we were younger
is not
Not
important.
now. And I think the meaning of success today, for, I don't know, for Nada, for a lot of young people, is not about owning 3 cars or 4 houses. It's not about experience. It's about, oh, have I gone to Iceland?
Yeah.
So they want more annual leaves. As long, to me, I don't care. They can, as long as they finish their work.
Exactly.
And they want to feel like they've been to, I don't know, 200 countries in the world, or have this experience of, doing the ice bucket cold, whatever.
You do the bucket challenge.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
I
I'm
thought
okay.
about it, but I don't
can
think I will
stand
do
for
it.
Okay.
So it's it's so important. Even I think the definition of women empowerment
Has to evolve.
has to evolve. I think I remember when I was very active in 2015 30% club, we were talking about it, and I'm so glad. I think I kind of withdrew away because I got busy. But today I was leading the talent pipeline. It was so difficult to just get women to get into boards, right? But today I think our numbers surpasses our neighboring countries like Singapore and Indonesia. So there's something to be proud of. But what's next?
Yeah.
So we've got the ladies onto the seat. What's next? That's the kind of thing that I think Chee Gay was also talking about. What's next?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So exactly, that's why I think it's very important to always listen. I don't think that one size fit all will be the way to go.
Yeah.
So I think we will need to continue to evolve. So I always like Nadiah raise the bar every time.
Everywhere she
So
goes,
whoever
right?
work
Yeah.
with her will always have to change the IWD event in every year differently. But that's exactly where we need to
Correct.
behave,
That's the
right?
right way to go.
Yeah, we need to behave and see that the needs, especially with Generation Alpha, is going to come into the workforce soon. So we need to really move into that what we call understanding the needs and addressing the needs and supporting the needs is going to be very important, especially come to retaining our talents. And that also, how do we able to retain the female workforce, right?
Correct.
Knowing that family members will be less. I mean, people will have less children. There will be more of people are not married. They are more independent, but at the same time, their needs change.
Yeah.
How do you support even from gender equality perspective?
Yeah, I think those are very good, points, and I think we covered a lot of really good I didn't even have to look at the questions because you guys were answering it throughout the time. It was really good. As in,
We could go on till evening.
No, there was a question on new policies, what's next, but it just came out through conversations, and that's what we want at the end of the day. So any last words before we end off? Maybe Nadiah, you can
Yeah, for me, I think every one of us, we are unique. So just embrace and celebrate your uniqueness and just be yourself. Life is short. Enjoy yourself. Just be yourself. Yeah.
Thank you. Chee Gay?
I think go back to again respect, humble, understanding people's needs. Over the years, especially I do a lot of mentoring, that everyone will go through their own challenges. Sometimes you don't know what they go through. So by being there for them, listen to them, and have the ability to provide some level of care and support will be very important.
Helpful.
Okay. For years, especially with the AI disruption that's going on.
That's coming our way.
So you'll have robots walking around now.
Well, I think that's the end of today's session. Thank you so much. And on behalf of my 2 guests and everyone from Team GRADUAN, we'd like to wish everyone an International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day.
Happy IWD.